I'm now going to record a video about an introduction to the MS Word Draw tools, at least as they relate to our assignments in computer literacy. I'm starting here with a view of a document open from before in Microsoft Word, and I want to make a new document. Okay, I could go to the Home button, and there is an option there. So I'll probably edit this part out. Let's see. Oh, they got for a blank page. That's for a new page. Okay, we'll skip that. Okay, either way, I'll edit this part out. I'm going to start again. I'm not going to do a lesson on the draw tools as they relate to the assignments we're doing right now in our class. I'm going to go over this fairly quickly as I've already done a lesson in class. But for those who missed it, or for those who may want to watch this again, I have this zoomed in. I'm doing a custom tutorial here that hopefully will be helpful to people. Okay, first thing I'm going to do here is let's see here. Oh, I didn't bring my view over all the way. I can't move it right now. Well, either way, you have to go up to the File menu, kind of a little bit out of my view here, go to New Document, and create a new document. That'd be one way you can do that. And there's also a keyboard shortcut for that. Use Command N, so the Command key is next to the space bar and the letter N at the same time. Makes a new document. Our other document I had here, I can just simply close out by hitting the little red there, and I've already saved it. So now I have a new document, and I'm just simply going to type up here. I'm going to put a Roman numeral 1 and put Intro to Draw Tools. Okay, so I have that. And I might increase the view here just a little bit, make it a little bit bigger so people can see it a little better. Okay, so I'm going to hit return a few times, and what we're going to do is go through some basics here. Okay, actually, though I'm referring to draw tools, some of it's going to be shapes, some of it's going to be text boxes, and we'll be looking at some things relating to that, like fills and line colors and so forth. So the first place we're going to go, remember I said these along here are toolbars, not menus. The menus are up here on top. We're going to go up over to the Insert toolbar. So we're right here on Insert tab here. By the way, sometimes if you double click these tabs hide, so you might have to click it again if you don't see it. We're going to go under Shapes. That's the first one we're going to do. So we're going to click on Shapes here. Now, as you may see, there's a number of categories of shapes. Because I've already been making things, I have a recently used shapes. You may not have that if it's your first time doing this. We have lines, we have rectangles, we have basic shapes, and we have block arrows. And these are fairly easy to use and to find. And also, if you scroll down here, there's equations, flowcharts, stars and banners, and callouts. So we're going to start with the basics. I'm going to go to lines. So the first one under line is just a basic line. So I'm going to click on that. Now we're going to go here. I can just draw. I can just drag it. And of course the line is the shortest distance between 2 points. So you see handles on this line. Now you could immediately go up here and click and reformat the line with a few quick reformat options. But that's not normally how we're going to edit this. So you can see it better. We're going to make it a little thicker. So let's go over to here. This is where you can do the line editing or the border editing if you have like a square or a circle or some other shape. And we're going to go under weight, and we're going to make it quite a bit thicker. I'm going to make it 6 points so you can see it's really thick. Now on that same menu, I can go back up here and I can make it a different color. And there's a few other options. I can make it into dashes. I can make it into arrows, but right now we'll just have a color and a thick weight. Maybe I'll go a little lighter weight, maybe 4.5. Okay, now I got my line here. I gave it a color. If I'm all done, I just click away and deselect and move on, make whatever else I want to make. But say I decide I want to edit this. I can click back on it. There's the handles. I can drag the handles and move it around on either side. Okay, whoops, I actually deselected it. I can resize it like this here. You can make it shorter, make it longer, and this is true with all the shapes we're going to use. They're going to have handles on them. Some handles have different colors and do different things, so it takes a little getting used to. But I'm going to leave this here. I'm just going to deselect and make another one. So now it brought me back to the Home menu up here, or toolbar. So I'm going to click up here to Insert again, go back to Shapes, and I'm going to go back to Line and do one more line. This time I'm going to do it on an angle. There it is on an angle. If that's all I want to do, that's the size, the color, everything, I just deselect. I can also go up here and of course make it, in this case I'm going to give it a dash. I'm going to make it a bit thicker so you can see it better. So I'll go weight, and I'll make it like a 4.5 point. Whoop, that's kind of big. I'll give it another color, maybe a blue, different shade of blue, give it a green so you can see that, and I could resize it, and that one's got a different look and feel. Actually, I don't really like that there, so I'm going to change the dash, do something a little more conventional, and of course I have a big zoom here so everything looks kind of big. Whoop, I deselected. It keeps going back to home. I'm going to go back to insert, go back to shapes. And now these ones here, there's arrows. You just click on the arrow. You just drag whatever direction you drag, that's where the arrow's going to point. If you want it the other way, you drag this way. Just like with the line, do all the exact same things. You can resize it. When it's selected, you can go up here and change the color. This one I'll make kind of whatever that color is. And I'll make it a little thicker weight, and I will, they actually got arrows options here if you want to make it into a different type of arrow. So that would just be very similar to the line. I'm going to go back up here to insert, go back to shapes. There's some unique ones here, like this one here. I'm just going to do one of these unique ones. There's a bunch of them right here in the middle. This one here, when you drag it, beside having the normal handles, you got this yellow one. So the normal handles do what you think they would do. They make it taller, wider, shorter, like this. Okay? And again, you can go up here. I'll make it a little thicker so you can see it better. Okay, and you can give it a different color if you like. Now, what does this yellow one do? We haven't seen one of these here. Some of these shapes have other types of symbols on them that do different things. So if you click on it and drag it, you get to do this type of edit. Okay, so it gives you a little different way you can edit this depending on what you want. And then, of course, when you're done, you just deselect. I'm going to go back up here to shapes. And we're going to go down next category. Or actually, we'll go to the end, near the end here. Second from the end. Actually, third from the end is called a curve. This is a little tricky. You click, and you come up, and you click again, and then you just keep going, and it curves every time you click. Every time you click, you can change direction. So if you want to do some kind of custom curve, you could do that. When you're all done, you just double-click like that. And then you could resize the whole thing here. Again, you could select and change the color and the weight and all that, just like the other. Then the... Also underline, we'll go over to the second from the last. That's called freeform. You click on it, and it's just like you think. You can literally, just kind of make something freeform. And then every time you click, of course, this way you got to stop. And then if you're going to make another freeform, you just draw it. And again, you could change the color and the weight and anything else that you want to edit on it. Okay. I'll do one more under lines, go back to insert, go shapes, and the last one is simply called scribble. And just like you would imagine, you could literally just draw. And then when you get to the end, you're done. You just let go of the mouse button and you're all done. You can change the look of it, you can change the color of it, you can change the thickness of it, and the usual types of edits you can do. Okay, so that's all lines, which is a big one. Now I'm not going to do all the shapes, of course, so that would take a long time. But once you get the hang of this, it's pretty much the same type of things. Under rectangles, the first one you got is a standard rectangle. You just drag it out, as you're quite familiar with. They do got some pre-made designs here if you want to click and try out. But more often than not, I do custom. Now here we're going to introduce you to fill. It's got a paint bucket on it. You can pull this down. You can pick a color like that. You can go down to more fill colors, and just like in the previous lesson I had on Microsoft Word, you can use various ways you can pick your colors. They got all different options here for picking colors. Probably easy one is just use the colored pencils and look for a fill that you'd like and click OK. Now the fill is literally the fill. It's not the border around it. So with it still selected, and if you accidentally deselect, just click on it again to select it. You can go over here to where the pencil is and do the border. So I'll just put a black border on there. I'll go to weight, make it a little thicker so you can see it better. And now it's got a black border and an orange fill in the middle. So that's another way you can do this. Now I'm going to go back up here to Insert. I'm going to go to Shapes. Now I'm going to go this time to Rounded Rectangle. It's very similar except it's got rounded corners. And you can, again, do whatever kind of fill you want. I'll just leave it at that so you can see what it looks like. That's pretty simple. If you want a perfect square, you go back to Rectangle. Go with that one there. And you hold down the Shift key when you draw your rectangle, and you let go and you get a perfect square. And again, you could do your normal edits to that. Now I'm going to introduce you to the oval tool, which is kind of like the rectangle for circles or ovals. So we're going to go to Insert, we'll go to Shapes. Now we're going to go under Basic Shapes this time. The second one over is called the oval tool. And I'm going to have to move up here a little bit. I'm going to drag here, and that's just a standard oval. And you could use a pre-made design like that, and just as always, you can click here on the fills, and you could fill it with a color, and you can go over here by the border, the line, the pencil, and you can give it a different color there. I'll give it a purple, and then I'll give it thicker so you can see it better under weight, and that's an oval. Now the oval, of course, can be used for a perfect circle, just like the rectangle can be used for a square. So I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to go to Shapes, and I'll go back to Oval, and I will hold down the Shift key and drag it, and sure enough, I get a perfect circle. And again, I could use a pre-made layout like that. Click up here. I can go and do a fill, which I'm going to give it a light gray. Then I'll give it a border here. I'll give it a darker red. Maybe make it a little bit thicker so you can see it a little better. And there's a perfect circle there. And now I'm going to do a triangle here just to show you where they're at. Go to Insert, go to Shapes, and right next to the oval is the triangle. And of course there's other types of triangles, all kind of shapes in here. Of course I'm not going to go over all the variations. You can try those out as you want. Some of them have 3D looks. So I'm going to just do the triangle, and I'm going to drag there. Now once you let go of the triangle, beside the normal handles and colors and fills and the usual stuff, you now also have a couple things. First of all, a lot of these here have, I didn't show you this on the other ones here, but all these ones here have a rotate button way up on top. So if you want to rotate anything, say this oval, I go up here, becomes like a circular arrow, and now I can tilt it and rotate it however I want. As you already know, you can resize the handles. Now on the triangle, beside the rotate and the normal handle sizes like that, we got this little yellow thing. So you can click on that, drag it, and change the shape of your triangle. Okay? So that's just kind of a crash intro into those options right there. We're going to go back up here to Insert again and go back to Shapes. And you see we have all kinds of shapes here you can use. And we're going to go down to the very bottom, something called callouts. So we'll go to the first one called a rectangular callout. These work a little different. These are for, think of like a comic book. If you're going to have someone speaking and you have to have a little box come up next to them with the text in it, this is like, or if you want to label something, you can make a callout. So we'll drag this here. You got this little yellow handle, so you can adjust this here to point. Obviously, this can be edited. I'm going to do a light gray fill, and I'm going to leave the outside border the same. Now I can click inside of here, and I can actually type text. So I'm going to put, this is a callout. Now, right now it's in white text. You can't see it very good. I'll highlight it, and I can go up here, and they got various ways you can give it colors. What happens if I click on there? That doesn't work for that, so I have to go find the up here. This is for text fill. It's way over here. Okay, so I give that a color, and I deselect, and now I have my callout. And there are many different types of callouts. I'm going to make one more real quick here. I'm going to go to Insert, go to Shapes, and I got to scroll down here. And then there's ones like this, and say I wanted to label that. So I pull this here. Now I can pull this down. I click on it. I'm going to deselect for a second. Whoops. Keeps wanting to jump around, and pull this down. Now I'm going to click on this part here to point it up there as if that's what I'm labeling. Okay, I can shorten this here a little bit. Say I want to label that. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to go up here to to click on the border to get what I want there. Okay, what I wanted wasn't there. So when in doubt, go to the border of it, double click, and that usually will bring up the menu that should be up when you do this. And now I'm going to go here and do a fill. This one I'll do a little lighter color over there. And I'll do a border on here. I'll give it kind of a dark, well, that's kind of what was almost there already. I'll give it a purple border. And that's okay for now. Now I'm going to click in here and start typing. So I'm going to say this is, I'll put this is a circle because I'm using it to label the circle above it. And again, you can't see it real well, but I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to give it a different color up here. Give it a purple. And I could look around here, see what else I'd like to edit. They got different font styles. You can try different ones out. They got different looks. If I want to change the font itself, I don't see that right here. So I can go back up to the home menu and I can go here and give it a different looking font. Maybe Arial, okay, and then I could change the size of it. Maybe I want it a little bit bigger. Now when I do that, it got too big, so I can resize my entire call out so it fits in there, and you can edit this all the way down there. So that's a crash introduction to the shapes. I'm going to show you just a couple other things here real quick that are some other things that are going to relate to what we're doing in here. If you go back to insert here, you can put in pictures. So we click here. Usually we do picture from file. We download a picture from the web. We insert it. Let me show you how to do that. I'm going to open up a web browser. In this case, I open up Chrome. And I'm going to, in YouTube here, and I'm going to make a new window. And we're going to look up a picture. So we'll look up photo of Harper Creek High School. Okay, so I go Harper Creek High School. Okay, so I'm in Google and I click on images, as all viewers should be familiar with, and I see some pictures here. Maybe I like this one right here. So I clicked on it. I go over here. Now, if you're not familiar with how to do this, pay attention. After you click it to get the bigger version to come up, put your cursor in the middle of the bigger version, do a right click, and go to Save Image As. That'll bring up a dialog box. Now, if your dialog box looks small like this, don't forget to click the button to expand it. Now, that name is okay, but let's say it wasn't. Let's say it was a bunch of numbers or weird stuff, which happens a lot. I just put Harper Creek HS would be fine. Something like that. Now it's already set to do a JPEG. That's fine. Sometimes these come up as PNG files, PNG. That's okay too. Or save it to my desktop so I can easily find it. If that wasn't already selected, I could click it over here, and I just hit save. Okay. Now I'm going to minimize my web browsers. I don't need that right now. So I'm clicking back in here, putting my cursor underneath here. Now that's a little tricky when you start working with these shapes and that. Sometimes your cursor's not quite where you want it. So I'm going to double click down here and hit return a few times, and I guess my cursor's all kind of messed up here. So, well, let's see where my shape ends up coming, or my image. I can actually move it if I want to. That is a little tricky, and right now with this all blown up, it's more sensitive than normal. So I'll just have to insert the picture and see where it goes. And then I can move it. I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to go to Insert. This is one way you do it. Go to the Insert menu, go to Pictures from File. Okay, that's way up here in the menu. I can also click under here, Insert, and go to Pictures and from File and do the same thing. Picture from File. Two ways to do the same thing. So I click on that, go to my desktop, I look for my Harper Creek HS JPEG, there it is right there, and I click Insert. Now this is actually coming in way up here because that's where my cursor was. And so that's kind of a problem right now. It's behind everything, it's kind of in the way, I can't really move it. But watch this trick. Now that's normally not the way I would show it to you, but sometimes these things happen, so it's probably good to show you where it doesn't quite come where you want it to go. So I'm going to click on the image, so it's selected. Now I'm going to double click so it changes my menu up here. See how my menu changed up here? So now it says picture formatted. That doesn't happen right away. Double click again until that happens. Now this has all kinds of things you can do. You edit the photo in various ways and put borders on it and do all kinds of stuff. But the one that we're concerned about is text wrap, which is right here in the middle. Now, normally text wrap is used for putting an image over text and have the text wrap around it, which we will do in a future lesson. But for right now, we're just going to go to what I call tight. Don't worry about what that means right now. You notice our image moved to the top, and we got handles. I'm going to resize it a bit smaller. It's now completely movable. Because of what I just did, I can move this exactly where I want it, no problem. So I do this on all my images in Word. I click on it, find text wrap text, and go to tight. It works great. You can then line things up how you want them. Like I said, there's a lot of other editing stuff up here you can do, but right now that's all we're going to do is insert that. The other thing I wanted to show you was how to insert a text box. Okay, because of my zoom in here, it's a little sensitive, more sensitive than normal, but I need to do that so some students can see better. Okay, now I'm going to do a text box. So I'm going to go back to insert. Might say, where would text box be? Well, we look around here a little bit. We got pictures, we got shapes, and way over here it says text box. So we're going to click on that, and it says draw text box. So click on the first one and drag. And this is literally how you can just make a text box, a box that's going to have some text in it. Now I'm going to put this is a text box. So if you're making a poster or you're making any kind of layout or something like that, it's usually best to put your text in a text box because then you can format it however you like. You can format and move this text anywhere, pretty much. Okay, so I'm going to highlight this here, and of course there's a lot of editing I can do. I can pick a pre-made style here. I want to try one of these out. Okay, if I don't like those, I can go do my own over here. See what some of this here does. Maybe I'll make that color, and maybe I want a more standard style, so I might do something like that. There's all kinds of things you can do. You can click around and try out some different ones. Again, you can also go back to the home over here, and if you want to pick a different font or a different size, we could do that too. And I'm going to deselect the text box, and I can click back on it. I could rotate it. For some reason I wanted to rotate it. Obviously I could resize the box itself. I usually try not to have the box be much bigger than I absolutely need it. Now if I want a little different look on how this is going to look, I can always drag it down, drag it narrower, and do something like that. So you can try different ways you can drag the text box around to get different looks there. Okay, and of course you can highlight the text inside and use formatting like centering the text or whatever other edits you want to try here. You can always click here to see what it looks like smaller or bigger. Okay, I'm in the home toolbar, of course. Okay, so you have a lot of options here for editing. Okay, so that's the text box. So we've covered a wide variety of shapes. We covered fills, we covered lines, we covered colors. We download, insert an image. We did a text box. That's probably plenty of skills for this lesson right here. So just try these out. Don't be afraid. Shapes again are underneath insert, and your text box is over here. While we're here, we may as well do a quick WordArt. WordArt is over here next to text box. We'll click on that. You can pick a style. Say I like this one right here. Well, I'll go this one right here. Okay, that kind of jumped in up here. I can move it wherever I like it. I was going to put in here WordArt because that's what it is. Well, for now, we'll leave the WordArt here. If we need to move it or something like that, we'll come back and revisit that. But that's how you make a WordArt. The best thing to do is also to make sure your cursor is where you want it, because that's the best way to edit these. So without further ado, good luck with this here.